Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Let's finish implementing the presentation layer and the product feature. Let's get rid of some few warnings here. We don't need actually this one. I'm gonna mark it as unusable. Where is the other one? I think it's underneath. We don't access here any data. Let's mark it as unusable. All right, we need to implement the view product search result screen. Nothing is better than keeping things simple. We're gonna add a dedicated screen for this feature. It is very similar to products fragment, the same properties. Let's add a public initializer. Now for the content of the page, we're going to make sure that we are under loading state and the products is empty to show the progress indicator. With the same manner, if the error is not null, we're going to show a warning message. If the list of products is empty, a warning message. If we have products, we're going to show the grid layout. For the default case, we're going to show the grid layout. Now under fragment, we need to trigger the pagination event on appear. We're going to delay to trigger the event in order to give some time to the view to be ready on event get products. All right, to load the list of products. Here we have to use the products card. For the product, it's the products preview. It's authenticated user, it shouldn't be null. In wishlist, from the authenticated user in wishlist, and we have to provide here the preview or products preview and ID. If it's null, false. On view product, it's gonna be on view product on toggle wishlist. Some padding. Whenever this item appear, we need to check if we have reached the bottom of the page. It's a little bit different than Jetpack Compose, but here we are under the lazy vertical grid. Every time we are scrolling to this particular item, we need to check if we are under the last page. Let's do here an if statement. So basically on appear, in my opinion, this is very good. If products, preview and ID equals state and products and last, and we can access the ID. If this current item is the last product under the products list, we're going to trigger the event on next page and the event get products. And we have to add here another check if the page is not loading. Underneath, we're going to add the progress view is page loading. We're going to show the progress view. I'm going to cook a preview for this. I'm going to come back. Here is the preview that I have prepared for this tutorial. It's basically the list of products and it is scrollable. For now, I have set the user is not authenticated. Let's try to flip the orientation of this device. Under this menu, let's do here landscape. And instead of, all right, instead of one item, it is two items. So it's working fine. And we have the progress indicator here. As a better way, I think that the progress indicator should be here at the bottom, occupying pretty much the max size, but I think it's not that bad, to be honest. Let's switch back to the other orientation. Basically, this is how it's going to look like under our device. I think it's good. Now, under the default case, we're going to show the vertical grid as usual for each loop to present the products card. And here, instead of triggering the event get products, we have to trigger the event search products. Underneath, we're going to add the progress indicator. I'm going to fold this section to add the on appear section of our code. This is optional, to be honest. And on appear, we're going to basically trigger the event search products. With the same manner, give me some time to cook a product search results preview for this. And I'm going to come back. We have pretty much the same thing as we have done earlier. Let's switch back to landscape mode. And that's pretty much it for this screen. Now for the last screen that we have to implement, which is the product detail screen. As a dependencies for the product detail screen, we need the state on toggle wishlist and the event, and if the user is authenticated or not. And of course, the product's ID that we are going to show for this screen. Let's add a public initializer. With the same manner, I'm going to show the progress indicator when the page is loading under the same Z stack background of this screen. And whenever this component or this view is ready on appear, we're going to call the event load product as an argument, the product ID. Now we have to implement the content of this screen. If the error is not null, we have to show a warning message. Otherwise, we're going to show basically the rest of the screen. And if you want to handle multiple screen sizes, you can do that actually under lazy VStack, but for the simplicity of the tutorial and to maintain the same structure and the same visual for the Jetpack Compose application, this application pocket goods is meant for small screens, if you will. I'm gonna space the elements by 20. The first thing that we have to show here is the network carousel. If it's not now going to show the carousel URL and all the arguments. For the first argument is autoplay true. For the list of URLs, product implemented the original images to be shown as the source of data for the network carousel, 500 for the height. There is no need actually to add here a fallback component. Underneath, we're going to show the product title. It has to be large. If you do remember, under Jetpack Compose application, we have used build annotated string, basically to represent the section of the price with different style. Under the label, we have used the color primary and bold, and for the detail, it should be normal font. Under SwiftUI, it is a little bit different. We can add two text components to each other, which is, in my opinion, more intuitive than Jetpack Compose. This is just a personal preference. So the whole section is going to be wrapped under the parentheses, and the first element, which is the first text, that should be with a different style. For the value, it is from local keys, which is the price. Localized, I have to provide here the bundle. I'm gonna add to this string a space. For the font, it's gonna be basically body medium, and it should be bold. For the foreground, it's gonna be primary, and this is the first section of the text. Another text without the use of h-stack, which is gonna look very ugly, the operator plus, and add another text. It has the price value for the first argument, which is the product price, and we have to use the formatted to format this price to the default format in decimal. And we are done basically. Body medium for the foreground color on background. This whole thing is basically a view. Therefore, we can add some padding to it. Let's say, for example, the lead-in padding 8. For testing purposes, we have to consider this whole section as one element by doing accessibility element children combine with the same manner that we have done under Jetpack Compose. Group the text, which holds the title description as well as the description and the other components within a VStack. Now we have to add the label description and underneath content of description. The next component that should be placed here underneath the product description is the price. With the same manner, two texts, add here parentheses, quantity, body, medium, and it should be bold. And for the foreground, it's going to vary from success or error according to the in stock or not. We have to add to this text the content, basically, containing the product in stock. If the product is in stock, we're going to add the label in stock, otherwise out of stock. Instead of doing here an individual font, we can delete this section. In the second text, we can delete this as well. Now we have the whole section here. You can add here the body or the font, body medium. It's going to be applied to the whole section. Let's do this approach. I think it's way better. Let's delete body medium from here. It's going to be bold. And for this one also. And here we're going to add the font. It should be on background. And let's add the accessibility element, children, and combine. Now we are under this VStack section. I'm going to fold this section, a padding, lead-in padding of 8 to match the lead-in padding that we have applied here. The last section of the screen consists of the text showing the category and the value of the category, as well as the toggle wishlist button. Add another VStack and another padding. The first element, it is the label category. Underneath, we're going to put the product.category. The third element, which is basically the toggle wishlist button, it has to be a reusable component. We have to hoist the method on toggle wishlist as well as the state containing whether the product is in wishlist or not. We're going to use this state in wishlist to show the icon if it's in wishlist and the label if it's in wishlist. And if it's not in wishlist, it's going to show another icon and to use another label, basically a button. We're going to put the image containing the icon as well as the label in a horizontal stack. If the product is in wishlist, we're going to show heart minus, otherwise heart plus. And we have to specify here the bundle, which is Core UI bundle, accessibility identifier for this image. If it is in wishlist, we're going to add to this accessibility identifier, remove from wishlist, otherwise add to wishlist. And we have to add the frame as well as the foreground color. For the foreground color of this image, it has to be white, which is on primary. With the same manner, we have to put here the text that should be used. And if it's in wishlist, we're going to use remove from wishlist, otherwise add to wishlist. Title small, and for the foreground color on primary. Now for testing purposes, I would like to add an accessibility identifier for this button and a padding vertical and horizontal. Let's add a preview for this. Let's add the width for this toggle wishlist button to 30. For the background color, primary, and to clip the rounded corners by theme and medium. Let's show the preview. This is basically our toggle wishlist button. To disable the animation, I'm gonna add animation null and here null. Now let's use this toggle wishlist button under the product detail screen. Underneath category, I'm gonna put this toggle wishlist button at the center of this H stack by adding here spacer and another spacer. In between, we're going to put toggle wishlist button on toggle wishlist and provide the product ID as well as the title. For the value in wishlist, it should be from the authenticated user. I'm going to add here, just for readability purposes, an extension property on the product detail screen in wishlist. It is a private computed property. It is the authenticated user in wishlist, and we have to provide here as an argument the product ID, otherwise it should be false. In wishlist, it should be in wishlist. If it's in wishlist, 250, otherwise 200. For the background color, it should be primary, and for the shape, rounded rectangle with corner radius medium. I'm gonna fold this section. I'm gonna add here a padding, the whole VStack, padding bottom with the default value. Let's write a simple preview for this. Let's call it product detail screen preview. I'm going to add here an internal state for the product state, the product to preview, which is sunglasses product response from the mock data. Product detail screen, and let's provide all the needed arguments. And we have to implement on events. And again, it is very good to adopt this approach, event-driven approach. Right now, we can easily preview our screen in isolation, which is very intuitive. Right here, we're going to do case load products, pass as an argument the product detail and ID break. And for the first state, we have to assign is page loading to true. After a delay, we're going to change the state false, and the product is mock product. For the authenticated user, it should be null. And I would like the entire screen to occupy the maximum size. Therefore, I'm gonna wrap this with scroll view, hide the indicators. And again, I'm gonna fold this, and I will use the geometry reader to assign the max size to this particular container. For the screen, it should occupy basically the max width. I'm gonna do here minimum width, which is reader size and height. All right, let's see how it's gonna look like. I don't know, it's a little bit off, to be honest. And we have set the minimum width. It should be minimum height instead of minimum width. That's why it's a little bit big. Now we have the everything at the center of the screen. This is basically our screen. We have the carousel, and we have the title, the price, one text that has two different styles. I think that's pretty much it for the product detail screen. We are almost done with the presentation layer. We have one component to finish this particular presentation layer, which is the search input. It should be under the component. We can infer the dependencies from the Jetpack Compose application, and it's going to use the text field that we have implemented before under Core UI. The first dependency, which is the binding, Let's call it query, search label, method on search, and clear query. And the value that's gonna hold is processing for us and the list of suggested products. Let's add here the public initializer. We need the state to expand the list of the suggested products to control this. And we need to access or to control the state of focus, because whenever the text is focused, we need to observe this state. The first element that should be placed, which is the text input from the core UI. On top of this, it should be the list of the suggested products. Let's use the text input, $, and query. We have to assign the label, search label, the accessibility identifier for testing purposes, the accessibility identifier for the trailing icon, and let's provide here the icon name for the trailing icon. Magnify should be clearable, is processing. The icon color, it should be secondary. The corner radius, let's do for example 25. For the border color, it should be background. It needs no validation, and we have to observe the changes of the value. We're going to come back to this section later on when you have to deal with the animation and showing the list of the suggested products. On train icon click, we're going to call the function search later on. On clear click, I'm going to trigger the function clear click is focused. I'm going to specify here the z index 20. On the top of this, the scrollable container, if it is expanded, and another condition, the list of the suggested products is not empty, and the search query is not empty. Scroll view, leading alignment, spacing 8 for each, to loop over the available elements by doing suggested products, and we can show the search suggestions. And let's go ahead and implement the search suggestion item. Under components, this search suggestion item depends on the thumbnail, the title, and the category, and we have to hoist the method whenever we click on this particular item in order to navigate to the product detail. The first component, which is the image, and the second component, it's a VStack containing the title as well as the category of the product. Now we need to put here the network image, and we have to provide the URL. For the frame of this particular network image, just 80 or 90 will do the trick. For the accessibility identifier for this particular network image, each element the title to this identifier. As a fallback image, we're gonna show an image from our assets. Let's say, for example, let's show the select shopping SVG repo. The second element, which is a VStack containing the title. The next element, which is the category. I'm gonna fold this section. I'm going to force the shape of this particular H stack to a rectangle shape. And whenever we click on this whole section, we need to trigger the function onClick. Let's add a preview for this component, and let's show the suggestion products. This is how it's going to look like. Now let's use this in the search text input for the thumbnail, product, and thumbnail. For the title, product, and title, as well as the category. On click, set is expanded to false. Of course, we're going to do that with animation, ease in out. Then we're going to call the function on suggested products click to navigate to the product detail. An accessibility identifier for testing purposes. And we have to identify this particular item by a unique value. Let's add just the ID. I would like to fold the VStack, a padding horizontally and vertically. And I would like to place the content leading. And for testing purposes, we need to identify this scrollable container by adding accessibility identifier. Let's call it search input list test tag in order to scroll through the available items. As Z index 10, because I want the text input to be at the top of this one. I'm gonna add the padding. The autocomplete section should be customizable by adding a frame. For the background, it's gonna be surface, and we have to clip with rounded rectangle for the corner radius small, and overall padding for the top and leading. Now let's handle the animation. If you do remember, under Jetpack Compose application, whenever we click on this particular search input, the width is going to increase by a certain amount by animation. I'm gonna add here another state. I'm gonna call it text field size. Now let's come back to the section where we have on change. Whenever this particular new value is not empty, we're going to show the autocomplete section or the scrollable container. Of course, we're going to use here with animation, ease in out. If it's not expanded, we're going to change the value of is expanded. And this value is gonna be according to the new value is empty. we need to make sure that it's not empty. If the search query is not empty, we're going to expand basically the autocomplete section. Underneath, we're going to call the function onSearch and pass as an argument new value. Now, whenever we click on the train icon, what we have to do here, we need first of all to toggle the visibility of the container. In other words, it should be invisible. Of course, we're going to use here with animation, ease in out, and is expanded. We're going to toggle and we have to call search. Now, whenever this text input or search input is focused, we're going to assign the new value to the focused internal state with animation, ease in out, self, and is focused equal is focused. Before calling z-index, we need to control the frame. As I said before, whenever it's focused, it's going to expand by a certain amount. Otherwise, it's going to come back to the initial value. And we have to specify the width. If it is focused, it's going to be text field size plus 30% of text field width. Otherwise, it should be just the text field width. And for the alignment, lead in. Now, the value of the animation should be depending on the value of is focused. And now we are done basically with the search input implementation. Let's make a search input preview for this. I would like to add here an internal state for the query, as well as the suggestions and the value of is processing. I would like to surround the whole thing with scrollable container and a VStack. And let's use the search input, $ and query because it's a binding. For the search label, I'm gonna call here or use search. For the function search, we are not interested. For the clear search, you can do, for example, search or query equal empty, if you will. Suggestions. On suggested products click, we are not interested in this function. Therefore, I'm gonna mark it as unused. And for these suggested products, it's basically suggestions. I don't know, where is the function on search? On search, which is optional, it has to be the third parameter. For on search, whenever this value changes, let's add here query is processing to true, dispatch queue and async after for the delay. And if you do remember, under the mock data, we have added a function search or suggested product. It's going to simulate a little bit what's going to happen under the API and basically just a simple filter function. And we're going to toggle is processing from true to false to hide the progress indicator. I'm going to add here a background, theme and surface on appear. The suggestions are basically from the mock data. And let's run the preview. We can't see actually the other icons because we have set the icons to on primary. The size of this component changes with animation. This is very funny. I think that it has to do with the Z stack. Let's do here first of all alignment, top. Let's put some data here. And here we go. So basically we have the container or the scrollable container. I think it's fine. And that's gonna be it for the presentation layer. It requires a lot of implementations, but it's fine. I think that we're going to stop the video here. For the next video, we're going to implement the integration test for the product view model. I hope you have learned something new. See you in the next one and happy coding.